Israel has struck Iran, a military attack larger than any air attack by any foreign military against the Iranian regime in more than 40 years. Hi, this is Joel Rosenberg with All Israel News in Jerusalem with a special report. It's been an extraordinary day here, and yet odd in a number of ways that I'm going to explain here over the next few minutes. All right, so let's begin with the fact that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Galant made the decision in the wee hours of Saturday morning, be Friday night, U.S. time, Canada time, depending on where you are. But the decision probably had been made earlier. Israel has been debating internally in its war cabinet, its security cabinet for weeks on exactly how to respond to the fact that most recently Iran fired 180 ballistic missiles at Israel from Iranian territory, and earlier this year had fired more than 320 ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and suicide drones. So we're talking about Iran firing more than 500 missiles and suicide drones at Israel in the last 6 months or so. And of course, Israel has been under tremendous pressure from President Biden, from Vice President Harris. Don't retaliate or do so in such a limited way that it's not a big deal and that Iran won't, escalate the situation. Now, remember, Israel feels like we're under a 7-front attack from Iran. Yeah, Iran's using its terror proxies in Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, the Houthis in Yemen, and of course terror forces in Syria and Iraq and the West Bank, what we call Judea and Samaria here. So Israel does not see this as just 500 plus missiles and suicide drones from Iran. They see it as every attack has come ultimately from the Iranian regime. And so there's tremendous tension here over the feeling that the Biden-Harris administration is tying the hands of Israel's response to its main enemy, the Iranian regime. And the White House is trying to prevent Israel from having a robust response to deal a decisive blow against the Iranian regime, to make them the Iranian regime pay a big price for all the terror that they've set into motion over the past 380 plus days. But Netanyahu and Galant have been working very carefully with the Biden administration, with the Secretary of Defense and so forth, to try to calibrate a response that would be much stronger than what Israel did in April, but acceptable within the Biden-Harris limits. Okay, so what happened? Let me just walk you through briefly what happened. Basically, in the middle of the night, the wee hours of Saturday morning, most Israelis were asleep and didn't know what was happening. Netanyahu and Galant ordered the Israeli Air Force into battle. Israel attacked approximately 20 military sites in Iran. Okay, Israel did not attack the Iranian nuclear facilities. Israel did not attack Iran's oil refineries, both of which had been major topics of conversation in recent weeks. A lot of internal Israeli pressure on Netanyahu and Defense Minister Galant to hit exactly those sites. If there was ever a moment, now would be the time to destroy and neutralize Iran's nuclear program, which is very, very close to having enough highly enriched uranium that they can start building not just one nuclear bomb, but an entire arsenal that could be then put on ballistic missiles and fired at Israel or fired at the United States or Sunni Arab allies or what have you. But Netanyahu and Galant clearly decided not to do that under tremendous pressure from Biden and Harris. Israel also didn't hit, as I say, the Iranian oil refineries, which was even more consensus among members of Congress, as well as Israeli leaders, current and former, probably led by most decisively and clearly by Netanyahu's main domestic political rival, former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, who was saying it's time to, attack Iran, topple the regime, hit the nuclear facilities, and hit the oil refiners. Netanyahu and Galant did not do that. Now, this was historic, and it was an unprecedented attack. Israel has never attacked Iranian military facilities directly with its air force in such a big way. So I think you have to say this was an historic attack. It was an unprecedented attack by Israel using approximately 120 Israeli fighter jets, refueling aircraft, and basically spy planes to jam Iranian and Syrian radar. Okay, Iran didn't see this coming, and they knew generally it was going to come at some point. People were debating, is the attack by Israel coming against Iran before the U.S. elections or after the U.S. elections? I've been telling people in recent days I thought it would happen before, but anyway, and now it has. So approximately 120 Israeli aircraft went, as best as we understand it now, and it's about 6 o'clock in the evening on Saturday, October 26th. So that's. I just want you to know that that's the time frame that I'm doing this report. Israel has hit these military sites, about 20 of them, and with approximately 120 aircraft. Now, the early reports, and again, it's early, so we don't have bomb damage assessments. We don't have clear statements yet from the Israeli military or the Israeli political leadership. We'll get those soon, and we'll keep reporting on this, of course, on All Israel News. So please make sure you're subscribed not only to our YouTube channel, but of course to allisrael.com. You can get free email updates on all of our breaking news stories and daily news stories. But the best as we understand it right now, what did Israel attack? Israel attacked Iran, a series of Iranian military facilities. First, they took out Syrian radar systems and anti-aircraft defense systems so that they could have a clear pathway into Iran. Then Israel appears to have taken out Iranian radar stations and the S-300 anti-aircraft defense system built by the Russians and positioned around Tehran, the capital of Iran, and other key military locations. By all indications so far, early stages, Israel has taken out effectively Iran's air defense system, both their ability to see what's coming in the air, as well as their ability to shoot at and destroy Israeli aircraft. All Israeli aircraft returned to their bases here in Israel safely, according to the Israeli Defense Forces statement. And so what was hit, in addition to the radar stations and the missile defense stations, was factories where Iran's regime builds ballistic missiles and rockets and the type of offensive equipment that's being used to attack Israel from Iranian soil, from Lebanese soil, from Gaza, from Yemen, and so forth. So this was a big hit. I mean, the biggest in history so far. I will tell you, though, that I don't think it was enough. I think this is the moment to destroy Iran's nuclear weapons facilities and nuclear programs and facilities and its oil refinery capacity. Why? Because the oil refinery capacity is how Iran is getting the massive amounts of hundreds of billions of dollars to fund not only the regime, which is a wicked and evil regime, which needs to be toppled, but also fund Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, and other terrorist organizations. But I will tell you that, so I don't think this was enough. But it was important. I'm not criticizing it in terms of what it was. I'm saying it should have been bigger. But why couldn't it have been bigger? I think the answer is pretty clear, because there was enormous pressure from President Biden and Vice President Harris and the entire Biden-Harris administration: don't hit Iran too hard. And the statement out of the White House right now is that this was a proportional response, that it was very carefully done, that and the Biden and Harris administration has praised, or at least supported, let's say, maybe more accurately supported Israel's attack. The United States was clear, the administration was clear, it had no part in it. It was informed ahead of time. Netanyahu wants to keep a very close relationship as best he can with the Biden-Harris team, and of course the Pentagon, because Israel needs the United States and a close relationship long term as well as in the short term. So I don't think this was enough. I think it was as much as Netanyahu and Galant could pull off right now. But here's the key. The key is that in this attack, which was supported by the Biden-Harris administration, so that's not a small thing, what happened was Israel has cleared the decks, as best as we can see from early indicators, that now Iran's main military facilities are vulnerable to another round of attack by Israel. If Israel were to decide, let's say after the elections, let's just say Biden and Harris changed their mind and supported a big attack by Israel. I don't see that happening, but let's just say. Or let's say Donald Trump wins the presidency. Again, this is not a political partisan point. I'm just analytically, Biden and Harris are saying don't hit Iran's nuclear and oil facilities. Former President Trump is saying do hit, he's telling Netanyahu do hit Iran's nuclear and oil facilities. So if Trump were to win on November 5th or in the days thereafter, Israel has a clear pathway now, as best as we can tell, to a much larger, much more decisive attack. A couple last points. Please pray. Just yesterday, the Iranian regime was saying if Iran was attacked by Israel, it might launch up to 1,000 ballistic missiles at Israel to overwhelm Israel's missile defense system and do terrible, devastating destruction against the Jewish state. Right now, according to foreign sources, the New York Times and others, sources in Iran are saying that they don't currently plan to retaliate against this attack. I don't know if that's true. I don't believe the Iranian regime about anything, but that's what's being said at this hour, that Iran is considering this, okay, enough. And so, but please pray, because we just don't know where this thing is going next. That would be one thing I would ask you to pray about. And then pray that Israel's government leadership at the top, Netanyahu, Galant, and others, will understand what is the right way to focus on defeating Hamas in Gaza, which we're almost there, Hezbollah in Lebanon, which we're probably about halfway there to winning in Lebanon. And then how do we deal with the existential threat posed by Iran, the Iranian regime? So those are critical elements. Before we end, I want to just play a quick video by the IDF spokesman, Daniel Hagari, so you understand what was officially said just a few hours ago.
In response to months of continuous attacks from the regime in Iran against the state of Israel, right now, the Israel Defense Forces is conducting precise strikes on military targets in Iran. The regime in Iran and its proxies in the region have been relentlessly attacking Israel since October 7th on 7 fronts, including direct attacks from Iranian soil. Like every other sovereign country in the world, the state of Israel has the right and the duty to respond. Our defensive and offensive capabilities are fully mobilized. We will do whatever necessary to defend the state of Israel and the people of Israel.
Okay, so there you hear the IDF spokesman, the official spokesman for the Israeli Defense Forces, making that statement. And I think in that you hear Israel's trying to send a message that Israel can hit Iran anywhere, anytime, that Iran clearly does not have the defense capacity to identify 120 incoming Israeli military aircraft, much less stop them. I thank God that no Israeli fighter jets or refueling planes or spy planes or whatever were shot down or even damaged. This is a good development. And I will tell you that it's a bit surreal to live here in Israel, to wake up to this news that Israel had attacked, a massive attack, but not as big as I wish, but still a big and important attack. And yet we went about our day. Lynn and I went to our congregation. It's Shabbat, it's Saturday, it's the Sabbath. And so we went to our congregation to worship and pray and study the scriptures. And the whole country is sort of operating as normal, which is odd, okay? Anyway, that's where we are right now. I have no idea what the next few hours or days will hold, but stay tuned to All Israel News for all kinds of breaking coverage and analysis as we learn more. This is Joel Rosenberg in Jerusalem with a special report for All Israel News.